step back three for the tie. Oh, he's done it again. They get it to him. More in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. Moore cuts back. Touchdown. Each one more.
All right. So first of all, I promised that those clips being like 75% against Ohio State was not pre-planned. That was just already there. That's just how it was.
Really well against Ohio State.
But welcome back, everybody. This is our first podcast in a long time. Welcome back to the Boiler Express podcast. I'm your host, Alton Boiler. We've got the normal crew here minus Russ, but we do have a special guest with us today. We've got Brant from Big Banter. Brant is the CEO and president of Big Banter, which is a partnership that we've recently got ourselves involved with that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But how's everybody going? How's everybody been doing since we've last met? It's been a while.
Feels good to be back, man.
Yes,
Brant,
busy.
How did that Rondale Moore highlight feel? Just want to know. Was that tough for you?
Shots fired early.
Starting off well.
That whole I saw the David Knox highlight there, and if it was Rondale Moore, don't know. They both just kind of dunked on us that night. It started with that, and then everything after that was just you guys smacking on Ohio State. So definitely hurt me a little bit watching those highlights. Making me happy that it's not sports season right now. But nice to be on the pod here with you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm super
excited. But honestly, I was waiting for him to just be like, yeah, how are those not national championships that you've played in, Dylan? Like, that's what I was waiting for him to.
Hey, you know where our banners are? On the moon. Huh? Take that. That's how's that.
Yeah, and it's been a few years since we've put one up. But I mean, we'll see how it goes this year. We'll see. There's a chance.
So that's something, not to get too sidetracked or anything, but I've seen a little bit of comparison from Ryan Day to Urban Meyer, obviously. And folks may be saying that Ryan Day has not done that great of a job, which is crazy to think, at least from my perspective as a Purdue fan, because I'm like, oh my God, the guy wins so many games every year. He's always in the race for conference championship, national championship. So what do you think, Brant?
You know, I love Ryan Day. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. But at the end of the day, when you're the coach of Ohio State, you've got to beat Michigan. That is the one thing you have to do. I'd rather go 1-11 and beat Michigan than make the national championship and lose to Michigan in that same year.
That's true right there.
That's how important that game is. And I think it's gonna click for Ryan Day this year. I mean, he's beat Michigan in the past. He's struggled the last 2 years, but I think he's really starting to understand the importance of that game. And I'm confident that he's going to pull it together.
I think the good thing, though, in that series is that Michigan's pulled up their end of the bargain, kind of like Indiana-Purdue basketball, where both teams are pretty competitive and things are back and forth. So it's good to see that Michigan's won a couple, so it's a little less lopsided.
Very true. It was just kind of us handing their asses to them every single year, and that first loss there 2 years ago really, really stung. Like I just sat around the house the rest of the day, probably said like 3 words the rest of the day, just speechless. But and then it happened again the very next year, and I was at the game that time, and it was in Ohio, in the shoe, not expecting that to happen the way that it did, but same story, different year. Hoping it goes better this year.
Yeah. What's up, Russ? Welcome back to the podcast. Nice of you to join us finally.
Did the aide at the nursing home have to wake you up?
Yeah, no, my garage was a yard sale war zone, so I had to dust off the laptop and find it and the table and the mic and my headset. So, yeah, and I mowed right before, so that probably wasn't a good idea. Like, didn't exactly prep well. So
And that's Midwest. What are you gonna do? We're a Midwest podcast. I mean, that's gonna
Between catching horses and mowing yards.
Amen, brother. Look at us, Russ. Same thing. Same.
I don't want to. I mean, I had some stuff going on before, but
Oh my god! And
I
by the
also
way,
wanted to track down this cup just for this podcast. Like, I just wanted to
I
make
see what
sure
you
I
did
had this
there.
ready.
There's that tall guy.
That's a tall cup.
The guy who's just tall and not skilled at all. You know.
By the way, what is all this? Like, I had to dig it out of the box and do it. What were you like? Were you putting up? Like, were you done? Were you just putting in your throwing in the keys?
You're retiring?
Were you retiring from the podcast? Not going to tell us?
Age.
You all should have
you are.
seen the garage. We had yard sale stuff from like 4 different households. So yeah, I had to box my stuff up and separate it so it didn't get put in the yard sale. And then I'm out of the stuff for good.
Did the
So,
wife
yeah,
put a
no.
price sticker on your forehead? Free.
No, so like I actually ran out of the house and went and played in a scramble that day. So luckily I didn't get put on the block. So
How'd you
yeah.
shoot?
Yeah, yard sales are the worst, honestly. But
Not straight, Dylan. Not straight.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
I
well.
played Army golf. I played left, right, left, you know. So
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Thought you were in the Marine. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice. Well, let's have Brant kind of explain a little bit about the collaboration and kind of the whole deal.
Yeah. So as you guys may know, the Boiler Express team here has partnered with us over at Big Banter. We are a startup sports platform focused solely on Big Ten content, and we're aiming to deliver you the best of the best. And that's what these guys here at Boiler Express bring you, as you all know, everyone tuned in. So we've been partnering with different podcasts across the Big Ten, covering specific Big Ten teams. Our goal is to have all 14 football podcasts locked in by the end of July is our goal, and we're making some good progress there. We're being very diligent, making sure we get the best of the best. But we're locking them in one by one, and we're super excited about the content that these guys are going to deliver to you. Truly unique. And being all together under one platform, we're gonna have the cool opportunity to like have collab podcasts, like leading up to the big Purdue Indiana game this year. These guys are gonna hop on with our Indiana partners, the LEO podcast, just kind of talk some smack back and forth together. Gonna be a lot of fun. Gonna be a fun season, and I'm super excited for what we're building out here.
awesome. So, what was the inspiration behind you guys starting this new group?
So yeah, I actually just graduated from Ohio State, as you guys may have caught on early in the podcast, the Buckeye Talk there. But I graduated from Ohio State last year with a marketing degree. So I've been working in digital marketing for about a year, which it's great, nothing to complain about. But my true passion is sports and sports media specifically. So I've been just kind of searching for ways to kind of put in the door there, and then just kind of decided, you know what, why not just kind of start up something on my own. So I honestly don't even know how the idea of Big Banter came to fruition, but it just kind of popped in my head one day. I was like, there's not really any kind of platform where you have a podcast covering each of the Big Ten teams, just kind of delivering the content in a unique way, where it's just kind of not too into the X's and the O's, but just kind of a group of guys getting together, talking some ball, and of course other stuff too, not just solely ball, but just whatever comes up, and kind of
Horses.
finding horses,
Horses,
horses, anything. But yeah, just finding a group like that for each of the Big Ten schools, and then just kind of stringing them all together under one entity. And it's been going great so far.
Awesome. Very cool. So I know that you said you've got almost everything lined up and everything like that. I'm just going to throw it out there. I know we've got a space to talk about content and everything, but I definitely think we need to get all the heads of all the groups together on one big call and talk about like a season preview, and then whatever group is close enough, they get some kind of a trophy or something, and that goes to wherever each year. I think that'd be really cool.
That is probably the greatest idea I've ever heard. I mean, I was planning on getting everybody together for something at some point, but a season preview. I mean, why not? But the idea is born right here, right now.
There you go. What just who? So just some Big Ten questions, just to get your thoughts on the Big Ten and everything, because I know that with you kind of running the whole show, you're not going to necessarily be involved in like the Ohio State podcast and everything.
Mhm.
Who is your Big Ten favorite? Who do you think is overrated this year in football? And you can't just say Michigan. And then who is your underdog? Like, who's your dark horse?
Okay, so as far as Big Ten favorite, this one is, I mean, it pains me so much to say, but it's also the mainstream pick, so it's kind of lame of me to say it too. But it's got to be Michigan just because of how much they're returning on both sides of the ball. I mean, they've won back-to-back titles. I think they're the pretty clear-cut favorite in the Big Ten this year. Even with Ohio State returning the talent that we're returning with like Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka, all the offensive pieces we're returning, and honestly a lot of defensive pieces returning as well. I still think Michigan's kind of got a head up on us. I really hope that this year that we can kind of turn it back around, but they've got to be the early favorite. Overrated. That's a tough one. We can start with underrated.
Okay.
I think Wisconsin is my pick for underrated this year. I really think that Luke Fickell's going to go in there in year one and do something special. I think bringing in Tanner Mordecai was very, very underrated of a move. I mean, the dude just went through for a ton of yards last year at SMU. Granted, he wasn't an air raid offense, but I think Luke Fickell's got the pieces to build something special, and Braylon Allen is definitely no joke. I think he could have a breakout year as well.
Yeah, he definitely did against Purdue last year. So
yeah. And as far as underrated, I'm going to go Northwestern. They're already ranked at the bottom, but I think they should be ranked even worse. I mean, I love Pat Fitzgerald. He's had some miracle runs with those guys, but their roster is very underwhelming. And with Northwestern, you're either going to get like a 10-2 season, Big Ten West champs go onto the championship game and get pounded by us, or you're going to get a like 2-10 season, and there's really no in between with them. And the way it's looking, I know they just grabbed Ben Bryant out of the transfer portal from Cincinnati. I've got some buddies who go to Cincinnati. Probably Ben Bryant's number 1, number 2, and number 3 biggest haters. So we'll see how he pans out. Obviously, hope the kid does well. And hope I do like Pat Fitzgerald. I hope he can string together a special season. But they're going to be my pick for most overrated, even being picked last.
So Purdue or Ohio State comes to Ross-Ade this year. On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
Well, it depends. If you put that game under the lights,
oh yeah, that's true.
It's over.
You know what happened last time? Black out the stadium, and
wasn't the only thing blacked out. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Chris over there took care of that.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, but it's probably not going to be a night game. We have a lot of night games on the schedule already this year. I'm interested to see how Purdue performs this year. You know, first year head coach.
We all are, yeah.
Yeah, new quarterback. The expectations are honestly probably a big question mark for the team. They could be really good. They could struggle in year one with Coach Walters. I will say, we'll put this on the record right here, right now. I'm not that concerned. I'll put it at 2. I think Ohio State's got it in the bag this year against Purdue. But you never know.
All right.
We got you right where we want you.
I respect the fact you come onto a Purdue podcast and you're just like, take that. I respect the hell out.
You know, I will say the game where you guys beat us in 2018.
Which one?
17.
Oh,
The most recent one, the one under the lights.
banter has started, boys.
Yeah, the one we saw the highlight from here in the intro. That game I actually had horrible feelings about, and I didn't think we were gonna win, and we went and got our asses handed to us.
There needs to be a movie written about that game because of like the story behind it, the Tyler Trent game, just what Ohio State had in the palm of their hands, what was at stake for that game. I think Purdue was on a 3-game win streak at that point. They lost the first 3 games of the season to very not good teams, and then won 3 in a row, and then made that 4 in a row right there. I stand by that there should be a movie made about that game one day.
I think the backdrop behind us is from that game, correct? We didn't even play in that.
Oh yeah, it is.
Gotta be. I think it's gotta be. I see some.
Yeah, I remember before that game because I went to that game. I think a few of us here were at that game. And that was like the big talking point among like the tailgating crew that I was with. It's like, we have nothing to lose. Like, if we lose, so what? Like, we're going to lose. We were supposed to lose. If we win, like, we have everything to gain. I don't want to say necessarily the team had that mentality, but they came to play. I mean, that was I was one of the most like proud moments for me as a Purdue fan. Like, I'm happy I was here.
Yeah, because we're used to getting our souls crushed. So like,
yeah.
No, I mean, they really came to play that game. And at the end of the day, I'm happy for the team, obviously happy for all Purdue fans, but especially happy that Tyler Trent got to see that, because that had to been awesome for him.
I do think that this upcoming season for Purdue, like if they do really well, it's great. But if they don't, they've got like the 9th hardest schedule in the country because of everybody they play. They play what, like 5 conference champions or teams that played in their conference championship game or something. Like it's some astronomical, stupid number. Like,
I think Purdue only has one non-Power 5 opponent, and that's Fresno State.
But they still won,
and they're still pretty good.
Fresno State's a respectable team.
Yeah. So there's really no cupcake games for Purdue.
I remember the years of losing to MAC teams. So
and then you get Michigan over here playing ECU, Western Liberty Central, and like East Butler University. Like,
it's like Alabama's schedule.
No, their schedule is
let's
probably
talk about SEC. If we're going to trash.
I mean, SEC. I mean, Georgia's schedule might even be worse than Michigan's.
Do we have a Michigan podcast set up yet, or?
That is
the one that you guys are going to leave out? Just like forget.
I wouldn't be mad if we did. We do have one in the works. I'm actually pretty excited about those guys. Was actually talking on the phone last night to Jason, our contact over there. So we're to be announced soon. We're working out some things, but
nice little teaser.
So Frank and I are actually going to that Michigan game. That's planned on the schedule. So
that's cool.
Definitely something.
Wow, good for you guys. Huh?
We try and get the pods to meet up for a
picture. That's the goal. If anyone's road tripping, definitely try to have everybody meet up.
I think the whole group is going to Virginia Tech, right? Everybody here is?
Yeah,
but they're not in the Big Ten, so.
Yeah, thanks, bud. I'm just saying, we can take the show on the road.
We didn't get invited to the Michigan game. Sorry.
We're not cool enough, David. Russ is too old to go that far, so that happens. You got to sign him out before you take him.
He can go to Virginia, but not Michigan.
I'm surprised you even remember the road trip, Dylan, with your memory. I'm surprised.
It is bad. I barely remember we had a podcast.
So yesterday, Dylan actually had the idea of like bringing one of you guys on, and he was like, "Hey man, you should message somebody." And I was like, "Okay." So I immediately messaged you. You're like, "Yeah, let's do it." I tell them. He's like, "Oh, cool." And he even updates our Twitter banner to like have a thing with like a partnership, and it says it has your guys' logo on our Twitter banner now. And then today he's like, "Oh, dude, did you find somebody from Big Banner to be on the podcast tonight?" I was like, yes.
Now listen, you know what? You can't have looks and brains. Okay, you got to have one or the other.
You're missing both, bud.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Top rope. I see it. All right.
I was really hoping Chris was just going to tumble out of the back of his chair.
No, he's going to sign off because he's already tired of us.
Yeah,
he's like, these guys are.
We're going to need to find a new Purdue podcast.
Yeah.
Well, does anybody else have any last questions here for Brant before we let him go for the night? Anybody?
Nope, nothing. I'm good. Thank you for reaching out to us, for having us as a part of your guys' your startup, and we look forward to working together and getting the show on the road. Like I know our group chat, we've been through the moon, this opportunity and the thought that would be.
Oh yeah, we're definitely super pumped about having you guys on and everybody else gathered up so far. We really think we're
IU kids.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, now you guys.
Yeah, often Donnet. If you're listening, wait, was that his name? Is that his name? Often Donnet or often?
on it.
Yeah, if you're listening to this right now,
Well,
calling you out, man.
Elio.
But
yeah.
no, it'll be a lot of fun for sure. We're excited.
Yeah, thanks a ton, guys, for having me on. I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
we'll be in touch.
Alrighty.
Have a good one,
See you,
man.
brother.
See you guys.
Okay, now that he's gone, let's talk about this
he
road
re-
trip that was planned
he-
without us.
Yeah. What the hell? There was nothing in the group chat about it either.
Uh-huh.
Wow. shows
We're doing
who's
this
playing
live, guys.
favorites.
Come on now. Get it out. No. Okay.
Wait, Russ,
Well,
are you going?
I don't know how it came to be.
Nope.
It all
My
stemmed
phone
from
just
the-
slipped and said, "Hey, do you want to go to Michigan?" Yeah.
No, this was planned at the Wisconsin game last year.
My feelings are hurt. Well, I
So
went
those
around
of us
them,
who
so-
went to the Wisconsin game was like, you know what? Next year we're just going to go to Michigan, and it was planned at that point in time.
Yep.
Wow.
Hmm.
To,
Oh,
to
so
play
tickets
devil's
were on sale?
advocate too, Dylan and Damon, Chris and Frank were like original members of the thread, and then I was added
you know
in,
what?
and then
You know
Damon,
what?
and then Dylan. So like they are like of the five of us, they're the two originals. So
I get it, Russ. Okay, cool.
It was
All right.
But,
it was me, Chris, and Nick. Shout out Nick.
Yeah.
Shout out Nick.
Yeah. Shout out Nick.
Oh, Nick, rest in peace.
He's like Nick is
Nick's
like
like the guy on the couch from Half Baked. You know.
He's our producer. He's the producer. He never shows up.
He tells us when the show sucks. He's like,
and he's gonna say that real soon. He's like, guys, you scared off Brant. Like the deal's done.
yeah.
He took back his deal.
he said the manager with no experience.
Nick doesn't
Well,
deserve
since
that.
we're,
Yeah.
My goodness.
Since we're talking about football, since we're talking about going to some games, some of us going to some games.
Yeah. Nice segue.
There's some big football news that's happened recently. We have 5 players drafted in this last draft.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive, honestly.
Hey, Houday, by the way. Chuck
Round
says
of
I'm coming
applause.
here. Let's go.
So I'm excited that
didn't have a choice.
I'm excited that my favorite Purdue football player, Corey Trice, is drafted by my favorite NFL team. That doesn't happen very often.
Steelers
That's only happened that's why Rod Woodson's my all-time favorite athlete, right? Because
It's a shame he has to play for
Purdue
such
and
a
play for the
terrible,
Steelers. So
terrible team.
I'll be really excited to see him. To see him out there and see what
Be
he
really
can do.
excited to see him like almost win.
Lose
would-
to
you-
Joe Burrow and the Bengals every year for the next.
Do you guys
10
ever
You
do
would
that
wish-
whenever
you would
a
wish that on a Purdue alum?
No,
I
I'm just
mean-
saying the team in general.
I hope
He's just
I
got no
hope
shot.
Corey does well. I hope Corey does well.
Yeah. I hope
But
he
I
gets
hope-
30 tackles.
I hope
but
all
you
of his
guys don't score
teammates
points.
stink. I hope he does well though.
Same thing with the Bengals. I hope Charlie Jones goes bananas, but
How dare you?
like Cincinnati
So,
falls in their.
Oh yeah, congrats to the Colts for finally not being a retirement home for quarterbacks. Way to go. Took you 10 years.
Congratulations! Hey, win a Super Bowl.
We
So,
almost
Russ,
did.
Almost.
Russ, am I correct in that you're pretty in the know about the draft?
Damon,
The Boilermakers?
I was gonna say I was looking at Russ like, all right, Russ, let's just keep it low key over here. Don't tell anybody we're Cowboys fans. Just
You doggy.
Yeah, I would not mention that.
see,
think
Russ
Russ
just
is
throws out of the
frozen.
call.
Yeah,
That's how bad he didn't want to tell anybody.
look how he looks like he's an Abercrombie model. Like what? It looks like he's
He
trying
looks
to
like
be-
Oh
one
my
of my
god.
fellow guys hit the other morning.
Oh, there he is.
You awake
Russ-
there, buddy?
Russ, are you there?
Russ,
Tell
wake
your wife
up.
to get off the phone. It screws up the 56.
I asked you first. No, but in between all this, I just noticed this. I have the YouTube live pulled up here, just in case any comments come in. Shout out to everybody. We're at 70 subscribers now on YouTube, so that's pretty cool. That's exciting.
Which one of those? I'm gonna unsubscribe, so it's 69.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect. Actually, go ahead and do that. Did he just get that?
No, I was
Oh.
trying to hold it in because I'm
Oh.
not 12.
We both laugh at
Yeah, you're
balls, and you're gonna make fun. Don't
All
throw
right.
me under the bus. All right, we're in this together, Chris.
Okay, fine. Yeah, 69.
All right, so basketball.
This is off the rails.
Go, Damon. Go ahead.
Yeah, this just in basketball. There's a tall guy from Canada coming back to to Purdue to play some more basketball. So that's pretty awesome. No, but Zach Edey is returning. He officially declared he was running it back, which I was pretty 50-50 on. I had no clue if he was coming back. Honestly, the day of, I was pretty sure he was going to go to the NBA. It just felt like it. Just feels like that's how it always happens for us. Anytime there's a glimmer of hope,
we have to set ourselves up for major disappointment.
See, I feel like that's not true. Like I guess I would say it's not true with guys going to the NBA. I feel like it's pretty clear. Like
I really wanted Carson to stay.
The only surprise to me was AJ Hammons that he stayed another year.
Yeah. I really want. I know Carson like had to strike while the iron was hot, but I really wanted Carson Edwards to stay. And I think if he would have, if NIL would have been like a year or two, if NIL would have started when he was at Purdue, I think he would have maybe stayed.
I'm kind of glad he didn't, because he would have went straight into COVID and not had the NCAA.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, perspective.
Bad times,
but
not fun.
Yeah, so, Chargers get a hat.
Oh,
yeah.
I still haven't gotten a hat. I wonder why.
Yeah, don't ask for one.
Thanks, Kyle.
Don't ask for one. But yeah, so Zach Edey returned. What were you guys' immediate thoughts on that? I know
I almost wrecked my car when I got that alert. I was like, ah!
Good Lord.
And how many of us got by the troll accounts?
Oh my God.
Oh man,
they were
troll accounts are terrible.
John Ross.
According to my sources, 12 followers. All right.
Yeah. According to my sources, yeah, I like my. Yeah. I know it was my tweet, but I was pretty happy about my wife's cousin's chicken's dog told me Zach Edey was leaving.
He's always right.
That's how today's been.
That's how the Midwest. That's how news gets around the Midwest. It's your dog's cousin's chicken's dog.
But I really feel like Zach honestly didn't know until like when it was announced,
right?
Because some pretty reputable people close to the situation were saying that even like noon that day that it was still 50-50 for him. Which really raises the question for me, was he getting feedback from teams that hey, we might draft you, we might draft you late first, early second? I mean, I know he'd stated he wanted some guaranteed money, but that's just honestly, I don't know what the recipe is to play in the NBA. There have been so many players who have declared and stayed in the draft, and I've thought, man, they're never gonna play. I don't know why they're doing that, and then I won't name any names. They go off and have a great career, and then the opposite. I see a guy, I'm like, yeah, it makes total sense that he's going, and then he doesn't. He doesn't have a career. So I don't know what the recipe is or the rhyme or reason, but at the end of the day, like Painter said, Zach knew what he was getting by coming back to Purdue. He was getting a pretty good NIL deal from what it sounds like, and if he would have been taking a gamble going to the next level, so. I'm thrilled to have him back. I know there's been a lot of talk about how are we going to distribute minutes. I don't envy Painter for having to figure that out, because that's going to be a tough puzzle to solve. But yeah, super stoked to have Zach back in the black.
I'll be honest though, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
I am real happy that is something, because look at how many times, I mean, look, last year, maybe not last year, but how many times have we had oh man, we're thin at the point guard. Hope this works out. Thank God Braden Smith did. And Jenkins did well, but going into that season, it was holy crap, I'm not sure we're going to be able to do this. I just think that it'll be good. And it'll be a good problem to have. I'm pretty sure, Painter's going to talk through it. Everybody, they returned 92% or 86% of their minutes are played, and we get really athletic 2 or 3, depending on which recruiting service you look at. So I think that, there's no reason this can't be another really wild ride.
And that's what I think is going to come from this is more position versatility.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's crazy because you think of Mason Gillis as a power forward. He's 6'6". But he plays the power forward position. That's what his skill set alludes to. Ethan Morton's 6'7", and he's more of a 2-3. So I just think that, maybe out of necessity, we're going to have a little bit more positionless basketball, to use that term that everyone loves. But I just think that we're going to I think we may see Gillis at the 3 some this season, or maybe a lot this season. I mean, I could see a lineup of Edie, first Gillis, at the 5-4-3, or Edie, TKR, Gillis, or I mean, maybe TKR at the. I mean, there's just so many options now,
and then
especially
who
that we have
knows?
William Burke.
Look at the draft combine. What if Painter goes bananas and tries some ridiculous outside 3-point shooting with Edie? Do I think it happens? Probably not. But
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, because for anyone who doesn't know, that video did surface of Zach, hitting some mid ranges, over and over again. He was hitting some 16-footer, 17-footers, and then he stepped out to the 3-point line. I think I counted 7 in a row that he made, which prompted like controversy for only like 24 hours in the Twitter world about whether or not that should have been allowed or unveiled in Purdue's offense to allow Edie to shoot from the outside.
Was he guarded though? Like when he was shooting those?
No, they were just like warm up type shots. But you didn't even see that in Purdue basketball warm ups with him. Like you never saw him. It was almost like it was like a closely guarded secret, maybe. That Edie had the ability to step out and shoot threes. But I would love to have this conversation to get everyone's opinion on this. But I think that if Painter didn't have Edie shooting threes, or even 15, 17 footers, and there's probably a pretty good reason for it. Because I just can't imagine a scenario where he's like, hey, my 7'4" center can shoot and can shoot well in a guarded situation, but I'm not going to do that. I can't imagine a scenario where that's the case.
I will say the one time that I can think of that scenario is that doing it in practice and doing it in games is two wildly different things. And where sure he might be, say he shoots even on a good day 35%. We'll just call it like an average number, 35%.
Mm-hmm.
He's 70% when he's next to the rim. So right. I think you outweigh the risk reward. You give up the possibility of missing a 3 to get 4 points on 2 almost guaranteed back-to-back baskets.
Right. And he also just draws so much attention in the post that he opens up guys that are great shooters like Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith and everybody else as well. So I think him being in the post is so much more of a threat than him being out at the 3, because there's not like TKR, he can post up, like Caleb can kind of post up, but there's not really another big post threat like him, and that he could dish it to in the post if he was to get double teamed or whatever out on the 3-point line, which I don't think he would ever get double teamed on the 3 as him. But yeah, well, I think he's just so much more effective, I think, in the post versus being a 1 or 2 shots a game 3-point shooter.
But it would be cool. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, Damon, I completely agree with you. And Chris, you are right. He's 72% at the rim, in the paint on the season. So I think you put the 7'4", 300-pound guy where he has the biggest advantage. And that's in the post, and that most of the other team's players who are guarding him are 6 inches shorter than him and 50 pounds lighter. And so if you put him on the perimeter, let's say he's a 35% 3-point shooter. Let's say he's slightly above average in that regard. You're only going to need to guard him 1-on-1, and that's that's still not as high of a quality shot as him scoring in the paint. But that being said, I would love to just out of curiosity to see like a couple pick and pops a game, if he can actually do that. I feel like
you keep the defense honest, and it opens up that pick and roll more.
I feel like it would just be like when Matt Harms shot 3s.
Yeah,
back in the day. Yeah. I feel like that's really what it would be like.
Or what could happen with Will Berg, because isn't he like a 42% 3-point shooter in Sweden?
Something like that. Yeah, he's a fairly good shooter, and I just think that you keep Edie where he has the advantage, and I would just love to see the other team's face if they play drop coverage and he just steps out. It's like, well, I'm gonna shoot this 3 now, and just to see how that goes. But we know, and most people know that shooting a 3 in warm up is so much different than shooting it in the game. I mean, it's the decision making factor of it. It's like as the ball's traveling toward you to decide, okay, I'm going to catch this and then release it. Like you don't have the ability to set your feet And the difference between a contested three and an uncontested three, it's very different in a game atmosphere. So for him to hit 7 in a row in a warm up atmosphere, I don't know how that translates to a game.
So I was talking about golf earlier, and it to me it's like going to the driving range and going, hey, 6 or 7 out of 10 of my drives go right down the middle of the driving range. It's awesome. But then you get on the course and only 1 out of 10 actually ends up in the fairway. It's because you've got one shot. And
1 out of 10. That's how I am normally. Like, that's at the
most of
driving
us have been to a Purdue game or any college game in person, and when you see the warm-ups, all respect to guys that are walk-ons, but walk-ons are draining every shot in a row in warm-ups. Like nobody's missing a shot in warm-ups hardly. And so, yeah, Edey can do it in a warm-up, but like I wonder if they try to draw that up in scrimmages and it didn't work out. And so they said, well, if we can't work it out in scrimmages, then we're not going to implement it in the game. We're going to let the guys that are higher percentage shooters take those shots.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it a little bit. He's improved so much year to year. I don't know how much more he can improve from this year to next year, but that makes me really excited as well. He's just skyrocketed every year. Every year
he's a sponge when it comes to learning basketball is the thing I've noticed. Like that dude just absorbs everything that Brantley and Painter and everybody on staff's teaching him. It's just
and his footwork, at least from what we saw at the combine, has gotten so much faster, so much better. So I mean, who knows what he's going to be doing?
So
when they were running them rim to rim, like full speed, I'm like, man, where's this speed? Like I would love to see him pull down a rebound and then just go on a fast break. I was
thinking that, dude. What? Imagine just him like getting on a fast break, getting the ball, and just like windmilling. He wouldn't even have to try.
Yeah. They've really got to reinforce Mackey's floor.
And I so like one area, and it's hard to critique the National Player of the Year for sure. But one area I feel like he could improve in is his passing, especially if he does have aspirations to play at the next level. I mean, not to compare anyone to Nikola Jokic, but you watch him play. I mean, you can't guard him because he can score in the post, and you double team him, and he's the best passer on the floor in almost every game he plays. So, if Edey could like consistently just even like Trevion style passes, I mean that's not even necessary, but just something where he can find open shooters in a creative way. I mean, man, like that we're talking like unguardable type of offense if he could do that. Because that was one thing he did was he was kind of bad passing out of double teams. I mean, not bad, but he can improve in that area.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the NBA gave him that feedback as well. And that's one of the reasons Painter welcomes players declaring for the draft and getting that feedback. Is he even says that like he can tell them something over and over again, and then it doesn't land until they hear it from an NBA scout. So that's if he does want to play pro, which it sounds like he does, I'm sure he'll take that criticism to heart and work on it.
So also kind of a transition to the next part of basketball that I think is actually kind of a big piece of news, but I mean, it's gaining a lot of traction locally, but not really national, is Sasha becoming a part of the staff. I think that's going to be huge for all the guys in the backcourt.
Yeah, he's a director of player personnel, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What exactly? And I only ask this because I literally just don't know. What does a director of player personnel do? Like, are they
player personnel?
Right, but like, what does that mean? Like, is he checking on guys to make sure they're doing their schoolwork? Is he like what is that even like? What does that mean?
Well, if he does the same thing that Jeff's brother did, it's basically keep everybody out of the facility.
Ooh, shots fired.
Oh,
Russ coming from the top rope.
Golly.
Goodness gracious.
I'm going to have to cut that out.
Yeah, that's
I have no idea.
We're going to get a cease and desist from the Brom family.
The fans of the birds with teeth are going to come after us. My goodness.
So, did we ever get a definitive answer as to whether or not Sasha is okay with certain nicknames?
Yes, I think that was fine. I think it's
okay. If you put it on a shirt,
Boiler in Texas.
He put it on a shirt.
Yeah.
And
if you make money off of it,
there's some controversy over people using some nicknames about Sasha. So I'm
whatever. Just don't call me.
I'm super excited to see Sasha back in the Purdue staff. He's any guys who are struggling with their shot, he's definitely going to be able to help them.
Oh my God, you imagine a summer of Sasha coaching Fletcher? Oh
Which, I mean, and Sasha has given so much praise to Fletcher too.
Yeah.
And just when I think about Sasha, the first thing that comes to mind is his release. I can't remember a Purdue player who had a faster release. Like it's almost like he would catch the ball in motion with his hands. Like it's like get his
Matthias
hands
got
moving
pretty
upward.
quick.
What's that?
Matthias got pretty quick by the time he got.
Yeah,
to
no, he was quick. I mean, and so was Carson, but I just feel like Sasha was on another level. Like he would get the ball in and out of his hands so fast. I mean, Ryan Klein, by the time he was a senior, he was up there too. But
That was my thought. Was Ryan Klein?
I feel like Sasha took the cake for fastest release though. But that was just my opinion.
So I hate that I missed the ED talk because I wanted to take a half a victory lap really quick on some of the rumors and some of the things that were brought up.
Can you even run
back in
half a lap?
November? Back. What do you say?
I said, can you even run half a lap?
Yeah. Back. Hey, careful. Hey, careful. You get run over by your horses, so I don't want to hear you.
That's very true.
Oh,
But,
true.
So back in November, December, we did the player drafts, and I don't have many frank big brain moments, but I was pretty proud of some of the stats that I looked up and some of the things we talked about. And that was where I brought up that Edie could not only come back for this year, but could come back for a 5th year. So as much as after next year, he could be like top 2 or 3 in scoring and many stats in our school's history, he could come back one more year and they're erecting a statue for him. The other thing I'm going to bring up, because I know this narrative is going to happen this year, is everybody's going to talk about how many players in Purdue history did all those stats in like 3 years. Like, oh yeah, but Edie's done it in 4 years, and now he might come back for a 5th year. Well, my answer to that is look at his minutes his freshman and sophomore year. Right, he was 14 minutes his freshman year and 19 minutes his sophomore year. These guys that you're talking about, whether it's like Big Dog or Mount or whoever, they came in and played big minutes from the jump. You okay, Dylan? You all right, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. All good.
So yeah, that's the one thing I want to kind of jump out ahead of that I know we're going to hear this year when they start talking about him in all-time stats. And he's already like what 22nd in scoring in school history, something like that.
Yeah.
The stat department, you got that on hand?
Yeah, I think that is right. And the one thing we can add to that as well is that he's never attempted a 3 in his career as well. And so,
neither have I.
But Russ, I will say, if Jordan Bohannon was awarded the Big Ten 3-point shooting record, which it took him 5 years of playing to achieve,
7.5
will likely never be broken. So he has 455 career made threes.
Damn.
And, the next below him was at 374. Like, so that record's probably never going to be broken.
Oh, Hannon better have a free.
Oh yeah. Well, Fletcher Lawyer, he's listening. So Fletcher, that's a call out to you.
Yeah, Fletcher. Yeah, we challenge you.
Hey, and Miles and Kanan Catchings, all you guys. Come now.
Well, yeah, I mean, all those guys are capable of doing it. It's crazy because Carson's 17th at 281. Like that's.
And Carson felt like he was lights out all the time. That's crazy.
Yeah, it seemed like Carson was chucking up 10 to 15 threes a game.
Carson not had a 3 of 40 stretch, I think he'd probably been high.
But if Jordan Bohannon can be awarded that, then I see nothing wrong with whatever Edie accomplishes in the possible 5 years. Because I remember thinking like, man, I mean, yeah, did he technically shoot the most threes? Yes, but like he did it in 5 years because of COVID. Like it felt unfair to to the other people, but because of that, whatever happens with Edie, so be it. That's just the way it is.
So real quick sidebar, I was talking about the director of player personnel earlier, and I looked up a job application for a director of player personnel at a university that I won't name names or anything, but so examples of work performed: directs the day-to-day operations of the university's player personnel division. Okay.
Personnel.
Well, you can't define a word with the word.
Okay, so they oversee activities associated with viewing game highlights, films to evaluate athlete performances for recruiting potential. They coordinate on-court coaches for organizations of activities and information for analyzing potential recruits. Oversees the development of fall and spring evaluation schedules. stays abreast of all NCAA recruiting compliance rules and updates staff as needed.
Sounds like my kind of job.
Yeah. So kind of a whole hodgepodge of things. Perform similar or related duties assigned or required. So he might be putting stickers on Ross 8 here soon with Paul and the other guys too, if that duty gets assigned to him. So
Oh, that had to be a tough job. Oh, it was hot that day too.
Chris dropped, I think it was Chris or no, Russ. Russ dropped a name that I feel like we haven't talked about since all the stuff happened. But Cannon Catchings, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about like the 4 days of pure chaos due to a post on a message board about an Instagram account, which may or may not have changed. A picture may or may not have been archived, and just like the entire Purdue fan base went into a frenzy.
Bananas.
Welcome to Twitter in the off season. Welcome to Twitter in the off season.
It was like everything that Cannon Catchings had ever put on any form of social media was being analyzed like under a microscope. And it was like, well, this sentence from this tweet from 4 years ago, he didn't use a period. And so that means like we can extrapolate upon that, and means that today he's actually going to decommit. I mean, it was like all these crazy conspiracy theories.
If they go after grammar, I'd be screwed. Jeez.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just absolutely crazy. But still seems like he's all in on Purdue. I saw him tweet yesterday at a potential recruit, trying to get him to come to Purdue. So
yeah,
it looks like whatever
and
crisis.
I've seen guys like Brian Newbert too talk about him as a Purdue recruit this, Purdue recruit Cannon catching, blah blah blah. So yeah, all seems well. And I saw that post too. I think somebody had tagged him I think it was Trent Sisley.
That's who it was.
He got tagged in that post, and they were like, Cannon, do your thing. And he was like, he knows what school to go to. And he like smiled with it. So all seems well in the Cannon Catchings world. So hopefully he comes Purdue.
Great name too, by the way. It's a solid name.
Yeah. So
well, if I were him, I just would have sat back and just like watched because that's what everyone was like. Well, if he's not leaving, he's not decommitting. Why is he not saying anything? I'm like, if that were me, I'd be like, this is hilarious. I'm just gonna like sit back and watch this. That would be my response.
I would just post pictures of me wearing different colored T-shirts, not even related to any schools or anything. Just like wear a purple shirt. Oh, he's going to Northwestern now. By God, from the top rope. It's Cannon Catchings.
Love it.
Kind of like Edie leaned into the draft and taking his name out rumors where he's like, wow, I'm glad y'all know what's going on before I even do. That's great.
Take it, you turd.
Yeah, I think we should also call out the fact that Dockage was wrong about Zach Edey.
No,
we should call that out every episode.
Yeah,
that's never happened in the history.
Sources were incorrect.
Wow, I can't believe his sources would do him like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, honestly, I mean and I just think that was really crazy because like 5 minutes before Dockage tweeted that, some random person with like 8 followers tweeted that Zach, like word on the street is Zach Edey to the transfer portal, and I remember because I sent that to you. I don't know why I saw it on Twitter. And like 5 minutes later, Dockage was like, sources, I'm hearing from my sources. So I would literally just think he's on Twitter searching for Zach Edey over and over again. And then as soon as he sees something, he's just going to call it a source. That's my theory, and I'm going to stick to it. So,
sorry,
question:
we're all chatting at each other in the private chat here, and
being rude,
and insulting one another. These are horrible.
Right. I mean, my goodness, jeez, just took a straight pull.
Another question on Zach Edey: if he comes back, which we know he is, but say he comes back and he puts together a similar performance to last season, is it insane to think he wins National Player of the Year again? Would they ever give that award to the same player 2 years in a row? Because it's unprecedented before Oscar Tshiebwe, right? The National Player of the Year comes back, but Oscar Tshiebwe plays for Kentucky, where they always have a lot of talent. I can't see a scenario where Zach Edey doesn't perform at least similar to how he did last season.
I think he's going to have to average like 28 points a game for him to win the National Player of the Year again. Just because now 23 points a game, 12 rebounds, that's his expectation. That's his bar.
I think it more depends on if he's as dominant. I think if he scores, what was his average last year? 23?
Hello? Is this thing working? 23 and 12?
23? Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Damon's sassy tonight. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Okay, cool. See you guys. So I think even if he averages 23, but he's such a presence like he was this year. I think with Edie, it's less about maybe the production, more of just the orbit that he creates by being such a large human and such an unstoppable force that he could average the same as long as because I think that award goes to less of the top scoring player and more the most dominant. And that's for sure what he was. And
it's interesting what we saw from like a guy like Drew Timme last season, where he had shown, the year before that he can pretty much score anyone one-on-one. But then he almost turned into a I'm going to draw attention and distribute sort of role last season. I'd be curious to see if Edie does something similar. If he looks to score maybe a little bit less and looks to create for his teammates maybe a little bit more. There's no right or wrong. I'll just be curious to see if that happens.
Yeah, and my thought too is that if he dips 2 points in his average, but averages 4 more assists,
that's a win.
Yeah.
So we've just been presented with a trivia question, which I'm really excited to hear.
As soon as I'm like the historical stats guy.
Yeah, because you're that old.
I knew that was
for
coming.
most of them.
Walk into that one. Frank's got the big
Chris.
data mining computer that he pulls all the analytics and makes charts and percentages and all that stuff. I get into the historical stats. I love, who's got what record, when's the last time this happened, whatever. So when he said it's unprecedented that somebody would win the award 2 years in a row, National Player of the Year, who was the last guy to do it in any of the major awards? Because there's I know there's 5 or 6 of them. So I'm not going to try.
I didn't think it had happened before at all.
It has.
Wow.
Was it in the? Has it been in within the last 20 years?
It is not in my lifetime.
Oh my
Larry
God.
Bird.
Wow, we're going back to
Joseph. Who's the guy that invented basketball? Is it Joseph Naismith?
Now, was this
Magic
when they
Johnson.
shot in peach baskets or?
No, more recent than that.
So this was before the 3-pointer.
He's a pretty famous guy.
Were you at that game?
Magic Johnson.
That is Chris Paul back into it.
Is it or is it not Magic Johnson?
It is not Magic Johnson.
Okay,
What's the question?
Same
Sorry.
initials.
Who's the last
Michael
person
Jordan.
to play the year
Michael
twice?
Jordan.
Bingo.
It's Michael Jordan.
Yep, Michael Jordan's the last.
Oh,
guy.
that's an obvious one. Yeah.
So Zach Edie's Michael Jordan, confirmed. You've heard it here, folks.
Who's the guy that
Switch
played at
comparison.
Kansas for 10 years? I couldn't think of his name. I was going to say him.
Perry Ellis.
Perry Ellis. Yeah, I was going to go with Perry.
I
Ellis.
just anytime you think of a guy who played at Kansas for 10 years, it's
Perry Ellis. Yeah.
It's like that
Or
kid who played Oregon football for 9 years or whatever.
yeah. Or it's kind of like Duke and any of the Plumleys. There's always a Plumlee on the Duke roster for 12 years.
I wonder if people
Well,
thought
it's like
about
Purdue and the Anthrops.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Wow. Guys, I know it's been a while since we've been on the pod, but this whole disdain you have, I'm not for it. I'm not having a good time. Even though I've been dragging Russ.
Won't you cry about it?
I will. Right after the podcast, go cry.
All right, so we've talked about Zach
Wow.
Edey. We're all excited he's coming back. We're all excited about the what ifs. Something that's kind of been a little bit of a controversy not controversy, but a debate that people have been having that I don't know that a lot of us thought would be much of a debate, but starting lineups for next year. It seems like that 2 or 3, is it the 3 spot or the 2 spot that's kind of everybody's talking about? They're not.
Yes.
3 spot. It's definitely the 3 spot.
It's been a lot of talk about that 3
sorry.
spot. Yeah. That 3
Yeah,
spot.
so a lot of people are debating whether or not Ethan Morton should start next year, and I think.
Oh man, just putting it out there. Yeah,
Show of hands. Who thinks Ethan Morton should start?
Okay.
Oh.
All right. I embrace disagreement. I really do. So
I don't know that I disagree. I know he's a fantastic defender,
I just agreed with Frank. And
and he doesn't need to be like a lights out, sniper or anything like that. But just what's the average per game? Does anybody know off the top of their head? Or
I think on the season was like 6.
okay, well, because I was gonna say if it could bump up to like 10, I'd be all for him starting.
But at
But
the
I mean,
expense
that's
of who? So who's going to score less if he gets more shots?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But
Sorry, I was
he's on-
incorrect. It was 4. It was
he-
3.8 points per game.
Wow,
this
Frank was
past
wrong.
season.
That never happened.
Yeah.
But
So
if
it's not as much
he's
as I thought.
if he's on the floor, you have a better defensive player out on the floor and more likelihood to get turnovers, creating more possessions. So you might not necessarily have to take points from somebody else to give to him.
Well, here's my take on that. I think that toward the end of the season, we did see Newman starting for Morton, so Painter obviously saw something there. And one thing that was interesting about that change is Newman really embraced the differences between him and Ethan Morton, and that he kind of had that pick six ability. So you saw Brandon Newman playing really aggressive defense, going for steals, and when he would get them, he'd take them down for an easy layup. Where Morton doesn't necessarily have that level of athleticism. But I think, for the majority of this season, Purdue's offense was Ken Palm top 3, and that was with a starting Ethan Morton. And I think the fact that we don't need Ethan Morton to be a high level scorer, and that he, does the other things we need to do to win, and the fact that he embraces that role and seems to be okay with that, I see that as a good thing. Because you have to have those players. You have to have those players that do everything you need to win besides score. Because the majority of the time you're on the court, you're not scoring. You're doing other things. So I think that you don't fix what's not broken. I think when you have a top 3 offense, you kind of just stick with what works. But
well, you say not broken,
Yeah,
but
I think.
but go ahead,
I
Russ.
was going to say, I think the one thing he needs to improve on, I don't think his points per game necessarily need to go up for me to think that he improves, because if you look at his stats from 2 years ago to last year, the big thing that stands out for me is 44.1% from 3-point land. Last year, it was 27.7.
Ooh.
So, but he went from 2.4 points a game to 3.8. So he went up a point and a half per game, which isn't huge, but for your shooting percentage to drop that much means you're shooting more and missing more. So
so in 2022 he took 34 threes, and then last season he took 94.
Yeah.
So I mean he
Wow.
almost tripled the amount of threes that he took. But
Mm-hmm.
the main thing that I would like to see from Ethan Morton, I don't think anyone would question his ability to start if this were the case. If he were just a consistent 34%, if he played hard defense, was diving on the ground for loose balls like he does, pretty good assist to turnover ratio like he's had, and then just could consistently hit the open shot, no one would complain.
Yeah.
Dylan, whenever somebody says Ethan Morton shouldn't start.
So, if he scores,
Hi, Kat. How are you?
if he scores 4 points a game and that 4 points is off of 1 or 2 3-pointers that he spots up and hits a game, that's perfect for this offense, where he's not having to score anymore, but he still is enough of a threat that you got to be honest with him.
And honestly, this year it may not even matter and it probably doesn't even necessarily matter who's starting, because if we've got Miles Colvin Jr. behind him, and we've also got Cameron Heidi or Heidi or however anybody says it, still not been confirmed. I'm not mad.
I heard Painter say Heidi.
I'm not mad at any 3 of those guys having time on the floor. I think Ethan Morton's a great defensive presence. I've heard fantastic things about Heidi and his athleticism, and I've also seen really great highlights of Miles Colvin Jr. and how explosive he can be, and all these things. So I think that we're in no matter who's starting, I think we're in a good spot for the 3 next year, because people are going to develop. People are going to get time on the floor. So we might see some fluctuation. We might see some, depending on how Miles and Cameron just jump in there and how they do, we might see a lot of rotation in that spot. And as far as who's starting and whatever, I know Painter likes to have a consistent lineup, but we might see a lot of fluctuation in minutes in that position, especially earlier in the season, which I wouldn't mind seeing that at all.
And what if we see a true small ball lineup, right? A lineup consisting of Braden, Fletcher, let's say Heidi, Gillis, and TKR. Like that's crazy to think about.
I think we see that at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, TKR is technically the
gives us a lot of
backup 5,
flexibility.
probably. So, yeah.
We ran a little bit of small ball last year, and it seemed like it worked out really well.
And
Yeah,
according, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said, or I think somebody said that nobody else can transfer out at this point, or can somebody still leave it?
They could leave, but they wouldn't be able
to
to play this next year.
Yeah.
They'd have to sit out a year. Yeah.
Okay, wow. I think I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of shocked that nobody left. I mean, I know Brandon Newman left, but outside of that was pretty well expected, especially how the season ended and what he said in that press conference. But I was shocked to not see anybody else leave, which, especially with just how college basketball is right now. So shout out to Matt Painter and what he's doing there.
Yeah, one last thing I want to say on Ethan Morton's defensive abilities. If anybody questions that, just watch some tape. You don't have to break it down Frank style and get all big brain with it. But in a late game situation, when we put Ethan Morton on the other team's best scorer, what is the other team's reaction every time? They screen the crap out of him to get him off of that score. That should tell you right there what kind of defender he is. A team doesn't look at the defensive matchups and go, hey, that guy's a really bad defender. Let's screen him off of that guy, right? Like, that's not what happens. They see that Ethan Morton's a dominant defender. They know what he can do, so they try to screen him off of him in late in the games. Because remember, Ethan Morton is 6'7", right? He's massive compared to most guards. So when we put him on an opposing 1 guard or 2 guard, he does lock them down. That's why they are screening the crap out of him. So if he's going to get better defensively, we're going to get better defensively. It's Fletch and Braden that's going to have to step up and be more consistent. They made great plays at different times during the season, but if they're more consistent, the teams may think twice about spending all that time trying to screen somebody off of somebody.
The only thing that I will say to that is that you talked about, and I agree, like if we're talking about the entire game, I agree, double screening and all that shows what great of a player he is. But I think at the end of a game, if this is like a game's on the line moment, I think they would double screen anybody to get their best shooter open. I don't think it would matter who was on him.
That's a really good point, because really in a crunch time scenario, you're gonna run a stagger for your best shooter. That's definitely true. Well, I just think Russ, to kind of add to what you said, this is gonna sound maybe arrogant or snobby, but I feel like the average basketball fan doesn't understand the complexities of basketball defense. Like basketball defense is such a hard thing to execute and execute well.
Nobody understands it as well as you do.
No. I have a rough idea.
Hail the brain.
Don't.
I have a
Don't
rough
humble
idea,
yourself.
but I don't honestly don't know the half of it. But it takes so much communication. It takes 5 people being on the same page at all times, and like having eyes in the back of their head. And he does such a great job of commanding and just taking ownership of leading the defense when he's on the floor. Like, he's directing people. He's screaming as loud as he can. He's letting people know where screens are coming from. I mean, and that's the kind of stuff that you just will never show up on a stat sheet, and the average fan just would have no idea that that's even going on out there. And that's where I feel like his value is at its greatest.
Hear me out. What if Painter needs like an emergency starting 5? Huh? That's us.
Yeah.
Hey,
I would refund. I would take a loan out to refund everybody's season tickets and apologize.
What are you saying? Listen, I'll cherry pick. We'll be all right.
Yeah, I'll cherry pick.
I ain't doing much.
I'll get the rebounds and I'll just chuck them your direction. Like as soon as a shot goes up, just sprint down like straight LaMelo Ball.
And then Russ will be setting picks like a son of a gun.
Dude, the greatest compliment I ever got playing pickup basketball was a guy literally said, "You play pickup basketball like Brian Cardinal," and I was like,
"The janitor."
Like I would love.
You
that.
are the
like,
janitor.
You think that's a disrespectful statement? No, like that's a compliment. That's who I am.
You are.
Give him a set of keys because he's the janitor.
Oh God.
Cool. Well, yeah, really good podcast tonight, guys. I think we had really good discussions. It was good having Brent on here and telling everybody watching about our partnership with Big Banter. So we're super excited about
the email that he's decided to take that offer back yet?
I haven't gotten that yet. No,
good.
I think
right,
he
I have found one that says he's going to drug test everybody.
Whoops.
Big yikes.
Russ, watch out.
Dylan's taking horse tranquilizers. Big shock.
That's how I sleep.
This is a family show. I'm not gonna. I guess I am.
Oh my God. Well, we better get out of here before anybody else does anything. So thank you everybody for tuning in and watching tonight. As always, love having you guys on here, and we appreciate the commentary and the comments and everything. And I'm not sure when our next episode is going to be, but hopefully it'll be sooner than later. And we'll see you guys soon. So boiler up, hammer down. Thanks for watching.
Boiler up.
Polar.